Hi, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our webinar, which has probably the longest name I've ever seen in my webinar's history. And let me read it for you. So, should you use a BC specialized hosting company to bring your customer on-premises solutions to the cloud? Once again, this is probably the longest webinar name, but we want to make it very clear what this webinar will be about. So this webinar will be about how to make a possibility for the on-premises Business Central customers to still be on the cloud. But let me start by presenting us as a presenters. So myself, I am Rimvydas Saulis. I work for Companial. I'm a cloud business line manager in Companial, responsible for our hosting business, which is fairly successful, I would say very successful, bringing the on-premises customers closer to the cloud. And with me, I have my colleague and good friend, Thomas. So Thomas, could you please introduce yourself?
Hello, everyone. So as you can see, I'm an R&D lead, so research and development. I am the guy who is very technical from the background, but at the same time, the platform that our partners is using, the platform which allows them to, let's say, deploy Business Central on Azure very easily. It's managed and built by my team. So developers creating and we are generating ideas for this. And I am expert as it's written, so I am working more than 20 years already on NAV and Business Central. So I saw even the DOS version of NAV. So the people who were using that old version might be also seeing me at that time.
All right, so pleasure to have Thomas on board. He has a great technical and NAV and Business Central experience. So if you have any kind of questions, Thomas will help me to answer them during the webinar. So maybe a little bit about let's say logistics of this webinar. So we will be taking questions. Basically, you can pop the question anytime at the chat box. I see that people already writing the countries you are from. So greetings to Spain, Italy, Netherlands. Myself and Thomas are actually based in Lithuania. So for now, it seems mostly European guys. If there will be some guys joining from United States or Canada, where our other partners are, also will be great. So if you would like to ask us a question, pop the question in this chat box. And depending on the question, we will decide, whether to answer it straight away or shall we keep it until the end of the webinar. But anyway, we want this to be as interactive as possible, so don't be shy asking questions. There will be a couple of questions to you as an audience in the form of the poll. So we'll be glad to hear your opinion throughout the webinar as well. All right, so shall we get started? Maybe in the beginning, a few words about Companial, the company that we work for and we represent today. So Companial might be a pretty new brand in the market, but behind Companial, there are two pretty well-known companies in the Dynamics partners world, which is the QBS and One Click Factory. So we joined forces, QBS and One Click Factory, some time ago. And since a few months ago, we rebranded ourselves as a Companial. So whenever you hear Companial, please think of former QBS, former One Click Factory joining forces to form even stronger entity. So what do? We essentially serve the Dynamics partners all around the world. We strive to be the biggest and the most effective Dynamics partner community in the world. We now already serve more than 1,000 Dynamics partners in more than 70 countries around the world, mostly in Europe, but also we have a lot of partners in US, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, South Africa, Middle East, and so on. But yeah, majority, fair to say, still probably in Europe. The business areas that we're in, we are the CSP indirect provider, meaning we also sell licenses. We are, a licensed distributor for the previous types of the Dynamics licenses. We're also the Microsoft ISV Development Center, one of the few in the world. So they're recognized by Microsoft as an ISV Development Center. We're also Microsoft Learning Partner. Our company have joined forces pretty a few months ago with Platan, which is essentially the training platform provider. So not only we do other stuff, but we also do the trainings as well. From the technical services side, our core competences lie, no surprise, in the Dynamics world. F&O, NAV, Business Central, Power Platform, all of those areas of the specialization that we have a lot of resources, and we help partners with development, upgrades, solution assessments, and so on. And we also are a specialized NAV, Business Central hosting platform provider for the partners, for Dynamics partners around the world. We currently have more than 160 partners, Dynamics partners around the world using our platform. We're hosting more than 1,300 customer installations, or maybe even more today. And we have tens of thousands of end customer users successfully using NAV or Business Central that are run from the cloud platform on Azure, which is built basically by us and used by the partners. So as you can see, we're in very diverse areas, all of them which are related to Microsoft Dynamics world. So I assume that you as an audience are coming also from Microsoft Dynamics world. Ideally, you are the partner of the Microsoft Dynamics, or maybe you are a customer that might be interesting for you in this webinar as well. If you are coming from other business area, you can surely stay, but probably the most value will be the ones who are in the Business Central or Dynamics world. All right, so the reason that I've stressed that we are the hosting platform provider is because that I wanted to emphasize the experience and the competence that we have in different types of the Business Central cloud enablement, right? Whether it is the online or whether it is the hosted on Azure, we have a lot of experience, and we would like to share this experience with you today. Okay, so let's move on. So for today's webinar, we would like basically to discuss three essential topics that would probably help you to understand why partnering with some specialized, Business Central hosting provider might make sense to you. So there are those three topics that you see on the screen. So first of all, why do we at all talk about the hosting of Business Central, right? So we have, Microsoft Business Central Online, great product, getting better every release. We still have on-premise, so why do we have to talk about the hosting as such as well? So we'll talk about that. Also, afterwards, we will talk for you as a partner, if you will see there is still sense to talk about the hosting, what are the options you as a partner may have. And essentially that comes from the question, what you as a partner would like to be responsible for in this situation. So Thomas will share his experience about different levels of responsibility in terms of the Dynamics partner. And last, if we would come to the situation when the hosting is still relevant for you, so what are the areas that you should consider when making a decision about the hosting, whether it would be hosted by yourself or choose some local hosting provider or some specialized provider at the end of the day. So I think those are three areas that we need to basically cover in order to share enough experience with you. All right. So let's start from the first one. Why Business Central hosting is still relevant? As I said, there's a great product of Microsoft, Microsoft Business Central Online, which is getting better with every release. All of us loving that. But still, we have thousands of customer inquiries thinking how to use cloud while Business Central Online might not be somehow the perfect fit for those customers. And probably the answer is here, right? So different customers might have a different needs, right? The world is beautiful. There are different customer requirements, different needs, different understandings, and just to know one solution might not fit all of the needs of the customers around the world. And why is that? Because there are different attitudes and different ways to go to cloud by different customers. There was a survey made by Accenture, questioning the CIOs and asking how do they see the journey to the cloud. So some of them, they answered that they still, majority of the workloads, they still basically want to keep on-prem for whatever reasons, right? So it was 25% in this survey. Some of customers, CIOs, has answered that they will definitely go to public cloud. This is the only possible strategy, and public cloud is the answer, and that is fine. However, the vast majority chose the answer of the hybrid cloud and private cloud, right? And what does that mean? So that means that majority of the CIOs, they see this combination of public cloud and on-premise and of the private cloud as the best solution for them. And again, why is that? Because probably some of the workloads might migrate to cloud faster, say email, right? I doubt that there is like very few companies in the world who still have on-prem email service, right? Except of very, very few exceptions. So those are probably the fastest workloads to migrate to cloud. Or some of the workloads might be a little bit slower to migrate to cloud, and I believe that ERP systems are a bit slower to migrate to cloud. The direction is clear, right? Now everybody moves to the cloud. It's just that not everybody moving at the same pace. Not everybody is able to use the public cloud, straight away and be fully in the public cloud. Still, majority wants to do some combination. Maybe one thing would migrate to cloud faster, one another slower. Maybe some of workloads will stay on-prem. Some of the workloads will be purely on the public cloud. So that's why we believe that on-premise has its own niche. Majority will be on the public cloud. The hosted or the private cloud is also having its own market share. Now, when we speak about BC Online, while majority of the customers we believe will eventually migrate to BC Online, but from our experience, and we do probably hundreds of those upgrades every year from on-premise to BC Online, we see that there are sometimes some real-life situations when migration to BC Online might be a little bit slower than someone may expect. And those situations might be, the first and foremost is that if partner solution is not BC Online SaaS ready, then, the end customer using this solution might have a difficulty migrating to BC Online. some of the partners, some of the customers just cannot upgrade from the previous version to the newest online version. Many reasons. Might be lack of budget, might be the complicated upgrade, might be the upgrade is ongoing, but it may take like a year or more. So maybe they cannot start using BC Online just straight away. BC Online still have some limitations. Definitely the list of those limitations is getting smaller and smaller with every release, but sometimes customers may have some very special requirements which BC Online might not be capable to deal with. As an example, some VPN integration. So of course, BC Online is BC Online. It's not in your VPN. The other scenario when the upgrade to the using of BC SaaS might not be as fast as possible because some customers just don't want to upgrade so frequently, right? With the BC Online, you have to upgrade every half year. The upgrade, if it's all set up, might not be that complicated as it was before, or it should be fairly easy. That's the whole point of BC Online. But some of the customers just cannot upgrade so frequently, and they refrain from moving to BC Online, BC SaaS yet. Well, in some geographies, simply BC Online is still not available. There is a release for the new countries every half year, but I'm sure there are some white spots on the map where BC Online might not be available, and they just cannot, enjoy the BC Online version. And last but not least, situation when customer is not able to migrate to BC Online because their Dynamics partner is not cloud ready, right? We're working with more than 1,000 partners in Companial of Dynamics partners. We definitely see that cloud readiness of partners is very different. Some of the partners might be fully on cloud. Some of the partners might be slow to migrate their solution, their business practice, their competencies to cloud. So sometimes, and we're sorry to say, but partner might be the showstopper migrating to cloud. So once again, there are some certain situations when migrating to BC Online might not be, so fast. We believe, the migration to BC Online, BC SaaS, is moving like train, and nothing can stop us. But sometimes it is not possible. But that does not mean that customers should not look for their cloud solution. So in this case, basically, which is the topic of today, we think that using on-prem version in the cloud might be the good answer to the challenges or to fulfill the customer requirements. Okay, so if you deal with a situation when you have the on-premise version and you want to put it on cloud, right? There are a few scenarios that you as a partner may be facing, right? Let's not talk about BC Online SaaS. If the solution is ready to BC Online and customer is ready, then the customer will be already on BC SaaS. But then if not, then there are several options. So first option, can still be old good on-premise, managing on-premise installation. But again, that's not the topic of today. We will not talk about managing on-premise situations. So there are two basically options left. So first option, you as a partner may set up, host, and manage cloud platform yourself, whether it would be purely built by yourself, or you can basically hire some virtual machines from the local cloud provider and set it up everything for the customer yourself. In a nutshell, it's pretty much the same. Or you can partner with some specialized cloud platform provider. Specialized, I mean Business Central specialized, Business Central on cloud specialized. Well, I will not be very shy, like ourselves. So this is also an option. And with that, then I would like to ask Thomas to help explaining how can you look into those options more carefully and not make some very costly mistakes that some of the partners have already made? So, Thomas, I now pass it for you to continue.
Okay, thank you, Rimvidas. So yeah, it's a basic question. So we always talk that it's like two options, whether to do it by yourself or whether to use a specialized companies like us. And the first perspective or the first view that I would recommend to look at is so responsibilities. So different platforms, different structures on hosting makes you responsible for something or move that responsibility to someone else. And we as a company, as One Click Factory, as Rimvidas mentioned, we started from two companies and combined into Companial. So we as One Click Factory, we were very known for the upgrading business. So we were supporting our partners in upgrade of NAV and Business Central. And you can see that independently on what kind of solution you will choose, independently on where it will be hosted, it's your responsibility always. So there are some scenarios where the responsibility stays on your side independently. Yes, I know that if, for example, you are using BC Online, so Microsoft also doing some stuff, but at the end of the day, you are responsible for your customer solution. So, and then from that perspective, when you're looking, you always see that if you would like to spend your time on managing all the stuff like monitoring, like deploying or supporting infrastructure. So in that scenario, you go for do it yourself. When you would like to focus more on business central development, on support of your customers, for the business central questions, then you need to choose from other platforms. So either to use Microsoft as a hosting provider or to use a specialized company like Companion. So this is always when we talk about the responsibilities. And every time I am talking about the responsibilities and about the thing that partners need to do or they need to look at, I always say you need to always remember one thing, which is really the highest one. It's a security. So security should be like a priority number one in all the situations, independently on where what hosting you are trying to use, because it's not on prem. This is not where customers owning the servers, where they are taking responsibility for what they have. You are taking quite big part of that security. And when we look at the responsibilities on the security map, then it's a different story. So you can see the example on how it would look like if we would be talking about Companial as a hosting provider, where we are taking the part of the security responsibility. But even though we are the specialized provider of Business Central on Azure service, we are still sharing the responsibility with partners, customers, and Microsoft, because we are not in full control of everything, and in some control you are, and in some control of are the customers. So, for example, if we take uh, identity and access management, so we are, as a provider, we are checking, we are improving our tools to help you to define who can access where. So you are deciding who can access where, but you are probably acting on behalf of your customer. So customers also have some possibilities to interact, and they can change, for example, permissions and similar stuff. So in all those situations, even though it seems like uh, there should be one side who is responsible, but in general, in a lot of situations, we are sharing the security responsibility. But as I mentioned at the beginning, it's very important to take into account that security should become a priority number one and should become always thought through when you're doing something. And you can also find the link at the blog post. So there is a blog post written by our security person who is working especially on security stuff on Microsoft Azure. So he was sharing his knowledge and experience from this responsibility management on the security topic. So please, you can go to that. It's available on our website, and you can read it. So this is what you need to take into account when you are doing all those actions. But I think it's also a very important question. So what I need to do, what I need to take into account when in general I am talking about the hosting. And we have this topic for quite a long time. And we also started a company by thinking what it would require for us to build such kind of business. And we identified 6 areas where we think that you need to do an investment. And yes, depending on your decision, are you going for software as a service or platform as a service or infrastructure as a service, the investment into those areas are different. So we have identified like 6. So it's people, you need to invest in people knowledge, in people understanding. So depending on which structure you are choosing, you either need to invest in a lot of areas like Microsoft Azure, virtualization, Windows server management, SQL server management, and so on. Sometimes you need only into the business central if you are choosing, for example, as a software as a service. So people and people knowledge is the investment you need to do. Then also you need to think about the tools. Again, depending on the level of what you're choosing, you need to have more or less tools. Again, if you're going for the SaaS service, probably you invest in the tools which are needed for your developers, consultants, and probably project managers. While if you're using infrastructure as a service, you already need to look at Azure and the tools needed for the Azure services and so on and so on. Quite important piece when we talk about the cloud and moving something to the cloud, it's automations, because you need to automate a lot of stuff. Otherwise, it will not be your profitable business. Azure is changing, and hosting in general is changing. So you need to invest into automation that you're doing. Monitoring is another one key area for the investments, where you need to know what is happening, because as I mentioned before, you are becoming responsible for quite a lot of stuff, including security. So you need to make sure that everything that is hosted, everything that is working for your customers is running. And you all know that for the ERP solution, 5 minutes of downtime is not the right thing. So when you have 5 minutes downtime, you get like 50 calls from your customers. So this is a hosting business challenge. While when it's hosted at the customer side, then usually they are solving those problems by themselves. So this monitoring is quite important piece. And then the maintenance. We will come up to this question with the next slide, but I think at this point we have a poll. So I would like to ask one very simple question: which area of those you believe are requiring the most investment for you? So you can see already poll on your screen. So please choose the options and submit it. Okay. So yeah, I see the results are coming. Very good. So because we also created this business, we at the beginning we thought that the biggest part of investments will probably be required in automations, and we can say that yeah, maybe, but in reality we found out that automation is only one piece. in this slide. And we made even a comparison what it means, for example, to automate the PC deployment. And you can see that, for example, if you are not experienced person in doing so, it usually takes you around 1 week. So it's like 50 hours, depending on your skill level in different areas. But it's like 1 week of man work. If you are doing it more frequent, you can fit even into 10 hours, or in more experienced cases, you can fit probably in 4 or 5 or even 6 hours. So this is will be required more or less once when you are deploying the customer on Azure. With our automated solution, you can do this in 5 minutes. So it means you just go to the portal, you provide the required information, and then relax and wait until it will be automatically deployed. So this is a difference. But we always say this is just the beginning of the journey, because this is where you can save time. But the biggest investments from our perspective and from what we see is actually in maintenance. And when we talk about the maintenance, in most of the cases, people think that maintenance probably is just to update Business Central. Yes, if you are using like SaaS service, then probably this will be one of the areas, but not everything. Because when we talk about the hosting, it's also about updating operation system like Windows, updating SQL servers, updating Azure infrastructure, because you also need to update according to Microsoft changes on Azure. So if there are some new services which are more secured, or which is upgraded versions of what it was before, so you need always to migrate and always to adjust to those changes. Also, you need to remember that there are some requirements for hosting. So you need to make sure that you always have other software updated, that you have all the licenses needed for that software. And also you need to take care about all the features that you need to build for those. So if there are, for example, some new technology available, again, you need to adjust to that technology to be it to be used. Not the smallest part is always a bug fixing. So wherever we touch something, we always create some bugs. So we always need to remember that bug fixing can become a headache as well if we are not taking a correct or right attention to it. Cost, cost is also quite important part, especially when we talk about the hosting on Azure. So those who already tried, you already know that you are getting quite some lines. I always use it as one of the examples. So we as an organization, we are getting around 1 million of invoicing lines from Microsoft. So it's quite a number to understand what we are buying and what are the services that we are taking. And sometimes it's quite complicated to check if it's really what we are using. But this is also the one of the things that belongs to the maintenance, because you need to maintain. And with the customer database increase, it can be quite huge increase in your costs. And when we talk about the maintenance, and the one example that I mentioned was SaaS, and when I said that the upgrades might be seen as one of the biggest investments on the maintenance stuff, we always need to remember that support is also maintenance. And support is not that simple as it looks like, because if your support will be not good enough, you will be starting to lose customers. And this is where this responsibility map comes in. Because if you are responsible for everything, if you are responsible for Azure infrastructure, for security, for maintaining Active Directory, for maintaining SQL, for maintaining servers, updates, and so on, this is a list you need to provide. And the bigger list you have, the more experience you need to have. And in the more cases, you are staying alone. While if we are using the provider like us, hosting provider, specialized hosting provider, you already have second hands. So you already have the people who can help you in a lot of situations and who take care of some of the situations. And in Business Central world, it happened that sometimes after one or another release from Microsoft, it may be a security release of Windows system. It can also be some update in Business Central. And as I mentioned, every time you touch something, you create a bug. So in general, it may bring you that something is not working. We are working with a lot of partners and customers. So the one thing that we are finding in one installation or in one server, we are trying to see if it will not happen in the second one. So we have a lot of and a big amount of the customers where we are checking and where we are supporting. So in this situation, you are getting good support from the hosting provider, and you can provide the even better service to your customers. So you have the help from the organization. And yeah, when you have a big number of customers, then you can also spend the time and invest in automations. You can also be available and monitor everything 24/7 and react. While if you have a single person and that person goes for vacations or sick, as for example, then you like losing a control of your customers. And as I mentioned before, for the customers, downtime is really a thing that you would not like to give them. So support is one of the areas that you really need to take attention and you really need to invest. So this is all about the maintenance. And maintenance, as I mentioned, from my point of view, it is quite expensive, and from our experience, we know. So from the poll, I see that you voted mostly for the people. So I would like not to go in a way that people are not important. So you need to invest in people a lot, but this is not specifically for the hosting. For the people, you always need to invest, and you will be investing independently of whether you are using hosting through the hosting specialized hosting provider or through the SaaS. You anyway need to invest in the people. Just you will have more people that you need to invest, but at the same time, you probably have also more business. So, what is important when we think about the hosting provider? So I think this is a quite important question. So what after all this show, after all this information, I think you need to ask yourself those two very important questions. So what is the most important when you look at the hosting provider for you? When you're trying to find a hosting provider, and what is the challenges you are facing today? And it can be a comparison of what you are doing uh, by yourself, or whether you are already using some other hosting provider. I think we have another one, Paul.
Yeah, I think we shall have the poll coming now. So we'd like to ask you a few questions, or one question. So now we would like to ask you, if you would choose the hosting provider, what would be the criteria that would be most important for you when choosing the hosting provider to host your customer business central in the cloud? So you can obviously select the few options. Okay, we see some answers coming. And I think we see somewhat of a trend in the answer, where probably the most important requirement would be the support. And then there's a few that are almost equal. So understanding specifics of Business Central, the SLA, and of course price. How come price cannot be unimportant? So yeah, but again, the support is actually the obviously the leading one. So when you are in the situation when you need to once again select this hosting provider, this is the areas that we would like to recommend you to look into, right? So first, of course, the hosting provider should be competent on Azure or other platform that they're using. Maybe they have their own platform. Well, we chose to use Microsoft Azure, and we love that. But no, definitely the hosting provider should be competent in the platform that they're using. The other is obvious, the infrastructure configuration or load balancing, failover, stuff like that. And once again, that's in relation to the Business Central installation or that you would be using. Of course, especially in the ERP area, there are some peak periods when the ERP is being used more intensively and less intensively. So your platform should be, or your platform provider should be ready to handle those especially peak situations with all of the load balancing and so on. Now, monitoring and issue resolution, definitely that is the part of the support, as we say. That is definitely critical one, especially the when it comes for the specifics of Business Central. There are specific Business Central KPIs that you need to monitor to ensure that your installation, your customer installation, is running smoothly 24/7, right? And the issues are resolved in a fast and an effective manner. What we see from experience of some of our partners, that typical hosting provider, we call it vanilla hosting provider, who just provides virtual machines for you, might ensure that those virtual machines will be 24/7 monitored, that they are up and running, right? But very few of them, or almost none of them, would ensure that Business Central instances are monitored if they are up and running, right? Which is connected to one of the topics on this screen, is the SLA commitment. What is the real SLA your hosting provider is capable of committing to, right? Are they committed to ensure SLA of hardware, or maybe the virtual machine, or maybe the SQL Server, or maybe the instance, the installation of your Business Central application server, right? So different level of SLAs that different hosting providers can ensure. Probably the most important is that the Business Central is up and running, right? It's not a virtual machine that is up and running, but the Business Central is up and running. Okay, now from our poll, seems that security certifications might not be that important to you, but believe me, I just came from the call with one of the customers. The first thing they asked, do you have the security certificate? Right now, in today's world, security certificate is basically confirmation that you are looking into the security seriously. I mean, you can say, yeah, I know the security, but okay, show me the proof. So the security certificate, say ISO 27001 or the other, might be the proof that you're looking really seriously into the security. And I frankly, I cannot imagine the cloud solution without proper attention to security. That's the straight road to failure if you fail on security, right? So there should be no compromises on security. So security certifications for the services is very, very important. Again, from our poll, we see that the understanding specifics of Business Central is something important, and I can only agree with that. Hosting Business Central in the cloud definitely has certain specifics and certain, interaction points between BC and cloud infrastructure are something that you'd better understand very, very well. And if your hosting provider is not capable or is not competent in these specifics, then what it means? This means that those issues you as a partner will have to solve it yourself, right? That's not the hosting provider that would help because they're not competent or not competent enough. So it would be you as a partner that would have to solve it. So be careful there. And then we talked about the SLA. We talked about the importance of the support. As you say, the support is most important, and you'd better have the support, let's say, on the 360 degrees, meaning starting from Business Central, cloud infrastructure, and maybe some upgrades and so on. So the more support you get, the better service you provide to the customer. So basically, these are the questions that you have to clarify with your hosting provider when you want to host Business Central in the cloud. So wrapping up our today's webinar, just a few minutes left. So as I said, different customers may have different needs. For some customers, BC Online is perfect fit, and that's great. For some customers, might be slower to go to cloud, so they might consider the option of going to the hosted cloud, like the one that we offer, and then move to BC Online when they are ready. Probably some of the customers will still stay on premise, right? So there are fair amount of the customers who would still stay on premise for good reasons. Now, if you would want to move your customer on-premise solution to the cloud, well, consider those investments, those areas of responsibilities that Thomas has shown during the presentation. Those are very important ones. Do you really want to invest into that? And I mean, invest not only in terms of R&D and other, but invest into that area of focus, into that competence. Is that really the area of focus that you as a partner would like to invest, right? Or would you like to focus on your core competence, which is probably some vertical solution that you have? So in case you don't want to invest into your non-core competence, then we recommend to partner with some specialized cloud providers, again, like us or some others. So this is our recommendation. Now, last but not least, as you again told us in the poll, the support is from the hosting provider is very important, right? So support and security, we would add security, not only support, but security as well are vital. This is basically the key driver of customer satisfaction, right? Whether you would be able to support your customer, whether your hosting provider would be able to support you and the customer. This is the key area where you and your customer would be happy or not happy. And of course, security, as I said, nothing comes without proper attention to security. So this needs to be ensured. And probably the most objective way to ensure security is to basically ask for the relevant security certifications. So that wraps up the content. But given the occasion, we would also like to have some commercial information, right? So again, we have mentioned during the presentation that we as Companial, we offer the platform for the partners to host their BC installations, the on-premise BC installations on the cloud in a scalable, secure, and simple way. So we provide a lot of value to Dynamics partners. We want our partners to focus in their core area of focus and not to invest some way that you don't need to invest. We provide the platform that is rich and easy to use, so no manual work. You don't need to set up the installation for hours or days. It's just a matter of a few clicks and few minutes, maybe 1 hour max. Thomas mentioned that cloud pricing might be complicated. When you host a customer installation, you might be billed for the data traffic, for the database size, for the server size. and million other things. At the end of the day, you might struggle to understand, how much you would pay for your hosting provider. We try to get rid of this headache, so we want to have the pricing as simple as possible. We are not shy to say that we're Dynamics on Azure experts. We have, a department that specializes in upgrades and in development, in cloud and infrastructure. So we have different relevant competencies. So we're not shy to say that, the support that we provide for our partners is something that we are really proud of. Our service is certified, security certified. We have the ISO 27001 certificate. We're also backed by Microsoft, which data centers are on their side also certified. And we have to say that we're already trusted by hundreds of partners, 160 partners, and 1,000 customers already. So they are now a platform. The number of users is growing, so they trust us. We want to provide as best service as possible, and we basically invite the Dynamics partners to look into a platform in case your customer is still on premise version but wants to utilize the benefits of the cloud. So so to say, the call to action to every one of you, if someone is not familiar with our platform, just write us to service@companial.com. We will help you to guide through our platform. We will give you the free trial for 1 month to test and play yourself with the platform, and we will support during many phases of your customer deployment and afterwards. So feel free to write us. There's also a handout available in this webinar, which basically summarizes a few key points why partnering with such a specialized hosting provider is a good idea. So feel free to download that handout and use it for your convenience. And in case you have any other interest, feel free to reach out to us. And now I think we have some time for the questions, and I think we have one question in the chat. Okay, let me look into that. Okay, so Dick says that from his experience, hosting provider without BC knowledge will always be more expensive than one with the knowledge. Maybe it's not there in their cost, but simply because it takes too much of my time. Yeah, I can only agree with Dick. Yeah, definitely that total cost of ownership, which includes your time, your as a partner time, as a customer time, is definitely very important. And we can only agree that somebody with the specializations is obviously more effective than one without it. Yeah. So Thomas, anything to add from your side? Last words.
So just to add to that one, so I can share one very interesting example that we had. So we are also using quite a lot of technologies from Microsoft, and there was once a release where Business Central just stopped working. And we were trying to find where the problem was. And the problem was very simple, related to Microsoft Office update. It's a very simple thing, but we faced it immediately because we are using the newest versions always, and we are testing on those. And guess what? We found a solution in a couple of hours, and we informed our partners. So after a couple of hours, everyone knew that if this will happen with their installations independently, or they are on our platform or they are hosting somewhere else, they will know how to solve that problem. So this is one of the examples what is a benefit of using such a companies like us, where we are specializing on Business Central. And I would like also to comment on one of the questions. It's more like an answer from Massimiliano, where he mentioned about that we are talking about hosted NAV, or in general Business Central is still on-prem. So yes, it is still on-prem version. But when we talk about the SaaS, I always have one comment. So SaaS is what you are providing to your customers. So you can also provide a SaaS solution to your customers, even by having your own hosted solution or by using specialized companies. This is a service that you are providing to your customers. You can also give a lot of rights to your customers so that they will be taking your solution as a platform, as a service. So you are installing Business Central, you are configuring all the things, but you are giving all the rights for the administrators to manage. And in that case, you are not providing a SaaS service. But in all the cases where you are doing everything, just users are using it as a solution, it's a SaaS service. It's just your SaaS service. The way you build, the way you are managing, even by using on-prem version of Business Central hosted on Microsoft Azure. So those were my few comments and few words.
All right. So thanks, Thomas. And most of all, thanks for everyone participating in this webinar. Thank you for the questions that you raised. Once again, if in any doubt, if you'd like to talk about with us or discuss, cloud upgrades, development, any BC topic, feel free to reach out to us, and we will be happy to help you.
Yeah, and we got one more question from Salvador. So it is what you can get more from specialized dynamic hosting that you cannot get from telco hosting. So I think the biggest difference is always it's one of the levels that you mentioned, SLA. So the regular hosting provider will give you an SLA of virtual machine, while Specialized will be giving you on application level. So for example, we are monitoring all the instances. So we know when they stopped working. We are checking if it was because of some issues with the server, then we are fixing. If it's because, for example, partner developers broke it, then we inform that you broke it and that something is going on and some errors are happening. Because we are also Business Central specialists, so we have developers, we understand the business. So sometimes even by seeing the errors, we can give some recommendations on how you can fix that problem. So not only just providing you that it's not working, we also sometimes suggest how to fix the problem. So this is one of the values, but it's only the starting point. It's also about the support. So when something happens, if you have, for example, two companies who are supporting, like hosting companies is responsible just for servers, and partner is responsible just for Business Central. It's a very common situation. And then when something is happening, then it's starting to ping pong. It's not a server problem, it's not a Business Central problem, and so on. We are looking at it as it's our problem. So we are trying to help independently. Is it caused by some actions from our side, or it's caused by some actions from the partner side? Because at the end of the day, we need to make sure that customer is satisfied and they are using ERP solution without the downtime. So this is a common difference. We are not ping-ponging, we are trying to help and solve the problem together with the partner.
So basically that comes into the support, right? So, the specialized hosting provider would provide specialized support, while the broadline hosting provider would just provide the very broad type of the support. All right. Do we have any more questions? Okay, I think not. So yeah, we are very sharp on time. 1 minute left. So we give you 1 minute back to your to whatever you still want to do today. Once again, thank you for participating. Get in touch with us. We'll help you with pretty much any BC related question if you are Microsoft Dynamics partner. So once again, thanks, and let's keep in touch. Bye.